Hey, welcome to Break the Board Sports. This is John. Happy Friday, October the 11th. Another winning night in baseball. Last night we had the Cleveland Guardians and the New York Yankees. We also had that series bet, Yankees to win game one, with Yankees to win the series. That was a double unit, so both of those got home. So a really nice, if you really count the future play, 4-0 night in baseball. Baseball's been phenomenal. We're now 82 games over 500. Along with being 78.82 units up. Just a phenomenal baseball season. Hockey, not off to a good start. Picked up right where we left off last year. Heartbreaking loss in overtime with the New York Islanders, plus the Detroit Red Wings got waxed. So 0-2 night to start off hockey, down 2.84 units. But again, season just started, so a long way to go there for us. In the NFL, we gave out the Seattle Seahawks plus 4.5. Buying that point lane at R20. However, Geno Smith showed up like Geno Smith does, so took the loss there. However, great football season between college and NFL. We're up just a little over 14 units so far. Not bad considering how tough it's been on some people. So seeing if we can right the ship here this week. Going to get into some baseball. Then going to dive into college football. Going to dive into the NFL. And touch maybe a little bit if we have time. We'll touch a little bit on the hockey slate. WNBA last night had another one. We had that futures bet, Liberty to win game one with Liberty to win the series. Was just totally disappointed in what I saw from the Liberty. Just a total, really choke job, for lack of a better term. And I just thought the Lynx were the much more physical team. They really got in the shirt of the New York Liberty. Sabrina did not play well. Breanna Stewart, though I thought she was getting fouled a lot, she still didn't play tough. Just Minnesota was the much more physical, dominant team. Now they get 2 days rest. Game 2 is on Sunday. But listen, the Liberty stretched that thing out to like 15, 16, 17 points twice in that game, but we're just not able to bring it home. So really frustrating there. But now we'll look at series prices and all that as we go on. Today in Major League Baseball, we have a Game 5 in the ALDS, the rivalry San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers. Yamamoto will go for the Dodgers, minus 140. Darvish, plus 120 for the Padres. I think the biggest thing here that's the most alarming is what team is going to show up for both sides, right? The Dodgers, obviously, Freddie Freeman, his status still a little bit up in the air. Dodgers have taken 4 of the last 6 versus the Padres. Yamamoto did not look well in his last start out against San Diego, but though Darvish was able to get a lot of outs, it was through a lot of contact. But Darvish, rather, 5-0 with a 2.43 ERA over his last 5 starts. Yamamoto 4-1, but a 5.21 ERA, so he's definitely struggled. Darvish has won all 3 of his starts this year against the Dodgers. 1 run, no runs, and then 3 runs back in April. San Diego is really giving him a lot of run support. For Yamamoto, he won his last start out against the Padres, but he gave up 5 runs. He's given up 5, 3, and 5. This one's a tough one to handicap, and sometimes I say this: the best bet to make is no bet, right? The greatest advantage you have as a bettor is you get to decide what you want to bet. So not every game do you have to bet. Not every game do you have to have something wagered on. You can't be an action junkie. You got to be really selective. Volume isn't bad, but I think you do a whole lot better when you can really zero in. You don't have to play every game on the board. Again, if you could click that subscribe button, go to breaktheboardsports.com, have a new package up, use code WINNERS24, all caps, WINNERS24. You get this week free, or you can use that code to get $10.99 for the month. If we don't win this week, have a winning week, your first week, you get the second week free. If we don't have a winning month, you get the second month free. So really good value there. We have all notes, not just we do give picks, but it's to help you become a better handicapper. Again, you can always email in your questions, but this is probably a stay away for me. I think the Dodgers crowd's obviously going to be extremely ruckus there at the Ravine. But Darvish, it's hard to go against him. He's pitched so well against the Dodgers, gotten the wins, even though he gives up a lot of contact. Freddie Freeman, that still bothers me whether he's in the lineup or not. Dodgers just got such an explosive offense at any time they could go off. I really thought the Padres, if they were going to close it out, they had to close it out the other night. So while I go off the presumptuous, hey, I like the team at home in a deciding Game 5, I like the home team. To me, if you had to play the game, I would take the plus money with the Padres, but I think it's just going to be a pass for me because of the Dodgers' recent success as a team, not just, the pitcher Yamamoto has not been that good against San Diego, but just as a team, I don't like the spot for the Dodgers there. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and take a pass as of right now. Things could change, but we'll see how that goes. Tomorrow, Detroit Tigers at the Cleveland Indians. Another Game 5 that we got on tap for us. Cleveland obviously hasn't named a starter. Skubal, the southpaw, will go on the hill minus $1.20. Listen, kind of the same thing. Tigers had their chances last night. Still got within one there, 5-4. But listen, Skubal, when Skubal's minus $1.20, I'm going to take him again. Another rule you got to have for yourself. Whether you make a bet or not, you're not going to win them all, right? The goal, people say, if you can pick 56, 57%, you can turn a profit. The goal is really to be in the low to mid 60s. That's where you can really turn some good profit. And to do that, when you make a wager, you have to think, can I live with the results? Like if I lost it, can I just say, that was a bad bet? No. Can you lose the bet and say, you know what? I made that bet 10 out of 10 times. It was the right bet. The handicapping was right. It just didn't work out the way I wanted to. And to me, anytime you get the reigning Cy Young winner is what Skubal's going to be and how he's been lights out. Only laying $1.20, I got to take him. So I will be taking the Tigers. It's more of a rules play than I'm just totally in love with it. The game could go either way. But again, I'm going to go by way of Skubal and the Detroit Tigers tomorrow in that Game 5. But again, tonight, it's Padres or pass. For me, probably more than likely, as we said, is going to be a pass. Run down through here. Got some college football tonight. Notes are already up on the site. If you've become a member, again, you can become a member for this weekend just to try it out, see what you like for a week. Again, put in that promo code WINNERS24, all caps. You'll be able to go in, see the notes and all that. We'll have the college football notes for Saturday up shortly, and then we'll have all the NFLs up late tonight. So Northwestern will travel to Maryland. This line's done ticked up to Maryland minus 11. 65% of the bets, 55% of the handle is on the Fighting Turtles of Maryland. 35% of the bets and 45% of the handle by way of Northwestern. Your over-under sets 45.5. So you got a low total, which, the odds makers telling you it's going to be a lower scoring type of game. And you got Maryland, it's ticked up to 11. There's actually a couple 11.5s now. So when you look at that, I look at Northwestern, they're 8-4 ATS their last 12, 9-3 straight up their last 12. I'll take the dog here. I don't think Maryland's that much better than Northwestern to be laying that many points. Quite frankly, the way Maryland has played the past couple weeks, I don't think they should be laying double digits to really anybody. So Northwestern, we're going to make that a play. We're going to grab the 11.5 here. There are some 11, some 11.5s. There's actually one 10.5 still out there offshore, but we'll grab the better of the number. We'll take Northwestern minus 11.5, Northwestern plus 11.5 here and grab that. UNLV coming off that loss, laying 19 on the road to Utah State. 69% of bets, 77% of wagers are on the running Rebs. 31% of the tickets and 23% of the handle on Utah State. Your over-under sets at 66.5. Over-under tickets are split about 50-50 right now, thanks to the bang splits over there at DraftKings. Now, UNLV 5-0 against the spread, their last 5 on the road, 6-1 straight up their last 7 games. But here's an interesting stat for you. Utah State 6-1 straight up their last 7 games against UNLV. So the last 7 times these teams have hooked up, Utah State has been able to grab the win in 6 of those. Included last year, UNLV got the win 34-24. Before that, Utah State had ran off 6 straight games. Again, I do think it's not as good a spot for Utah State, considering that UNLV lost that game last week, that we had Syracuse. But offensively, UNLV 414 yards a game. But listen, Utah State, they're putting up 441 yards per game. Defensively, UNLV giving up 346. A little different story. Utah State giving up about 140 yards more per game. Offensively, UNLV 44.4 points per game. You look at Utah State, not as well, scoring 23.2. So about 21-point swing. Your line is setting at 19. But again, home dog here. UNLV should get the win. This is going to be a stay away. But listen, don't forget, Utah State, up until last year, it ran off 6 straight. This game is on the road. Going to be a little chilly there in Utah State. But UNLV, I can understand they should be ticked off, especially after dropping that game to Syracuse last week. So something definitely to take a look at. Utah will be the nightcap tonight. Utah and Arizona State. Utah ranked number 18 in the country. Zach Wilson's little brother, of course, Cam Rising, was just such a disappointment. Utah, you just never know what's going on with those jokers with him. But they're laying 5.5. Now, this one opened 4.5. It's got up as high as 6.5. Kind of bouncing around. Arizona State and Utah, both 4-1 on the year. Arizona State off to a very nice, surprising start for the Sun Devils there in Tempe. So Utah travel to Tempe tonight. 73% of tickets right now on Utah, 27% of tickets on Arizona State, 70% of the handle, 70% of the handle going to the Utes. Public loving the Utes, 30% to Arizona State. Now, Utah total's gone under in 6 of their last 7 games. Utah 4-1 against the spread the last 5 when they play Arizona State. But again, we talked about the great start for Arizona State. They're also 4-1, not only straight up, but 4-1 ATS their last 5 games. Kind of a dead number at 5.5. If you can grab a 6, I can definitely see the argument for Arizona State. Utah, I just don't know what I'm getting with them. So for me, it'd be a stay away. But I think if you're going to go with this game, you got to look at the Sun Devils of Arizona State and take the home dog. Remember, I always say this, big rule of mine, man's best friend, as my 2 puppies are playing here, man's best friend is the home dog, right? Home dog getting points, college sports, typically you can't go wrong with that. You're going to win a whole lot more than you lose. Flipping over to Saturday, a couple of interesting games here. Want to get over and refresh my notes here. And again, these notes will be up on the website. Fridays are already up there, and you'll be able to look at the notes for all of this Saturday here very shortly. And then we'll have all your NFL up later this evening. So we got South Carolina, Alabama. South Carolina 4-1 ATS their last 5 against Bama. Bama, though, 15-2 straight up its last 17 games. One of those straight ups not being last week at Vanderbilt. Right now, Alabama is laying 21. There's a couple 21.5 starting to pop up now, but 21 is the number we're going to go with here. 75% of tickets on Alabama, 89% of the handle on Alabama, 25% of tickets on South Carolina, 11% of the handle. South Carolina obviously struggles to score a ton. Total has gone under in South Carolina 4 of their last 5 on the road. The over-under sets at 50.5. Surprisingly, despite all the under trends, 87% of tickets to the over, 92% of the handle on the over, compared to just 13% of tickets bet on the under and 8% to the under. I got to tell you, if you can find a 21, I think Alabama comes out and just smokes South Carolina. They struggle very much offensively. The quarterback, they got issues there, just all kinds of stuff going on for them. For me, it's Alabama or nothing. Now, I'm not a person that's going to lay a bunch of points. However, again, I just think it's a good spot for the Tide, bad spot for South Carolina. South Carolina's been able to manufacture some wins that they probably shouldn't have gotten, but they did a really nice job of just sticking around in games. But I don't think in a track meet with Alabama that they're going to be able to do that whatsoever. So for me, again, it's going to be Alabama laying the 21 or pass. I'm actually going to lay it with Alabama. Now, Alabama has hit the game total over 9 of their last 12 games. If you have been following that trend blindly, you're up 6.8 units, 51% return on your investment. Pretty awesome there for you. Talked about the over. Now, while game under for South Carolina, Alabama seems to be a 10, the over much, much different when you're talking about half. So your over under for the first half at DraftKings right now, sitting at 26.5. Alabama has hit the first half game total over 7 of their last 11 games. If you have just blindly been following that, you're up 3.95 units for a 33% return on your investment. So good stat there for you. South Carolina has hit the game total under, like we said, 7 of the last 10. If you've been following that, you're up 3.7 units, 34% return on your investment. Now, South Carolina, don't think they have any shot at the money line. However, I'll throw this little kicker out there. First half money line, they've hit 6 of their last 10. That would have put you up 3.55 units, 15% return on your investment right now for the first half at DraftKings. South Carolina plus 650, so 6.5 to 1 there. Some good odds for that. Again, Alabama, we gave out Northwestern. Alabama will give a lean to them as well, minus the 21 here on Saturday. Also, a noon kickoff game, Clemson versus Wake Forest. Clemson 5-0 straight up their last 5 when playing Wake Forest. Total for Wake Forest, they've went over the total 6 of their last 7 games. Right now, your spread sits at Clemson laying 21, over under 61.5. 74% of tickets, 87% of bets go to Clemson. 26% of tickets, 13% of the handle going to Wake Forest. This one's a stay away for me, though I will say right now there's some pretty good odds for Clemson to get in the college football playoff. I've seen enough of Miami and Cristobal just hanging on, barely getting these wins. That house of cards in Miami will fall. Clemson's going to be your ACC champion. I would hop on them to make the college football playoff. Right now, it's all the way back to minus 120. You could have got that earlier, plus $4. But right now, I think if you put a little parlay, you got Clemson to make the college football playoff, Boise State to make the college football playoff, and then throw some heavy favorites in there like Georgia, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State. It's still going to give you about a 4 or 5 to 1 on those. Give you a nice little return. Iowa and Washington. Iowa laying 3 at home to Washington. Washington coming off that big win against Michigan. Excuse me, coffee break. There'll be a couple of those. Iowa, 51% of tickets going their way. Washington grabbing 49% of the tickets there with that -3 line. 68% of the handle going to the Hawkeyes, while Washington, 32% of the handle. Your over-under sets at 42.5. 53% of tickets going towards the over. 47% of the tickets heading down to the under. Washington 22-3 straight up its last 25 games. I got to say, they've been quite impressive. I love what they've been able to do. But again, handicapping is all about matchups. And I think when you look at matchups, the one that you have to really look at and be like, doesn't favor them is I don't like Washington going to Iowa here. Total's gone under 6 of Washington's last 7 games, but it's gone over, and Iowa's 4 of their last 5. Iowa 8-3 straight up their last 11 at home. Iowa already lost at home earlier this year to Iowa State. That was a brutal loss for me and all of our players as they lost that field goal, being non-aggressive as Kirk Ferentz really stuck it to me that game. But I like the spot here for Iowa. Listen, I know Ohio State rolled them in the second half, but again, styles make fights. I like Iowa on this one. Now, a couple more deep trends. Iowa's hit the first quarter game total under 8 of their last 11 games. If you just blindly followed that, you're up 7.2 units. It's giving you a 59% return on your investment. Right now, that over-under is setting at 7.5. Is the best line you can find at Caesars and DraftKings. For me, first quarter game total under 7. I think that's good value to take a snab at that. Now, we talked about Washington's hit the money line. They're straight up 22-3 their last 25. Money line 10 of their last 13, 8.25 units, but only a 6% return on your investment. Obviously, Washington typically laying, so they have a high money line. Right now on the money line, you can get them plus $1.20. I'm actually going to go minus 140 and take the Hawkeyes on the money line. Again, styles make fights. Washington's just came off some really, really physical games. They had that big win against Michigan. I think that takes a lot out of them. Iowa, yeah, they played Ohio State last week. Didn't fare very well, but Iowa plays well at home. I think McNamara protects the ball a little better, doesn't turn it over. I think this is a grinded out game. I like Iowa to get the win here, so we're going to lay a minus 140 on the money line for the Hawkeyes of Iowa. Moving on, Wisconsin and Rutgers. Rutgers laying 1.5. 56% of the tickets to Rutgers way. 44% of the tickets going to the way of the Wisconsin Badgers. 75% of the handle going to Rutgers. 25% to Wisconsin. Wisconsin 5-0 straight up their last 5 head-to-head with Rutgers and Schiano. But Rutgers 5-1 straight up their last 6 games, and they're 8-2 straight up their last 10 games at home. So 8-2 straight up their last 10 games at home for Rutgers, and you only got to lay 1.5. Numbers would say, hey, you got to follow Rutgers there. Now, with that, as we dive in a little bit more, Rutgers, they've hit the first half money line. The last 2 games, that'll put you up 3.5 units, 72% return on your investment. Your over-under for the first half setting at 21. Wisconsin, they've hit the first half game total over in 4 straight road games. They've hit the first quarter game total under 7 of their last 10. That would have put you up 3.8 units, 32% ROI there. And when we talk about the first half game total over, the game over for Rutgers, they've hit that 4 of the last 6 at home, 1.75 units, 26% return on your investment there for the Wisconsin Rutgers over. Your over-under sets at 43.5. If I had to lean anyway, I would lean to the over in Rutgers, Wisconsin. But we're not going to have any plays on this game, but we will have some notes. Again, go to breaktheboardsports.com, put in the promo code CAPS, winners24. It'll get you all the notes, all of our plays, but again, all the notes to help you dive in. Basically, we take all the information we can across a bunch of great sites, some of our own research we do. We bundle all that up to put it in what we call quick hitter notes, right? So you'll have 7 to 10 bang, bang, bang lines of different trend stats where you can say, hey, this is the way I want to go for this game and really help your handicapping. You can use that, get a week free. If we don't win, you get the second week free, or you can use that promo code to get the first month for $10.99. Again, if we don't turn a profit in your first month for you, then we get the second month free if we're not up at least a unit. And again, we've had an incredible year so far. Baseball up a little over 78 units. Football, we're up a little over 14 units. WNBA, despite the Liberties mess last night, we're still up 13 units for the WNBA season. And then hockey just started. We're actually down 2.84 units, but just getting started there. Last night was our first night of plays on that. We're also able to give you some good tennis, golf, and NASCAR stuff every now and then when it presents itself. So again, go to breaktheboardsports.com, click subscribe down here. We're on every Monday and Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on your live stream, and you can follow us on X. Going to the next game on the board, Purdue at Illinois. Illinois laying 22.5. They're dominating 70% of the ticket count, 78% of the handle. The Fighting Bielema's there. Everybody's on. A game I want to talk about because I think it's really interesting. Cal at Pittsburgh. Now, listen, Pittsburgh's 5-0. I'm not sold Pittsburgh's a good team. Not saying that at all. However, California, right now, the line sets at 3. Your over-under is at 58.5. Over-under tickets pretty much split 50-50, but 68% of those over-under 58, 68% to the under, 32% to the over. But I want to dive into the spread a little more. So Pittsburgh's laying 3. They're getting 71% of the ticket count compared to Cal with 29. And Pittsburgh's getting 80% of the money compared to 20% of Cal. I have no interest in laying 3. But what I will do is I'm going to lay the $1.50 with Pittsburgh, and here's why. We talked about it has not fared very well for these Big Ten teams or these Pac-12 teams flying all across the country. So I just want to tell you, Cal, just kind of their path the past couple of weeks, right? So week 1, they start out at home at Cal. Week 2, they fly all the way to Auburn, get a win. They come all the way back to Cal, beat San Diego State. They fly all the way back across the country, not to the middle, not to Nebraska or Tennessee or Texas or even Ohio State. No, all the way down to Florida State, grab the win, right? Then they come all the way back home to play Miami, have the lead late, blow the lead, lose the game 39-38. Now they're going all the way back across the country on the East Coast again, pretty much to play Pittsburgh. To me, it's Pittsburgh or nothing here, folks. It's got to be the Pittsburgh Panthers. I got to question the mindset of the Cal Bears, especially after losing that game against Miami. They had one there. Sorry, I apologize. They lost that game to Miami. Now the travel is just brutal for these college kids. And I really worry about the mindset of Cal. Where are they at on this? How are they going to respond? I think this is a really bad spot for them. Again, I think Cal's probably a better team than Pittsburgh, but I just hate the spot for Pittsburgh on this. Or I hate the spot for Cal, rather. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give out Pittsburgh minus $1.50. We're going to play it. We'll have some more notes up on it. But a couple quick hitters here that I had already typed up when I was going through this game on Wednesday that I want to share with you guys. Pittsburgh, 5-0 against the spread in their last 5. But here's what's even better. They're a better team at home. 5-0 against the spread their last 5 at home. Total's gone under in Cal's 7 of their last 8 games for the Cal Bears. I think it's a great spot again for Pittsburgh. I think this is a horrible spot for Cal. Again, I'm playing a spot here. Cal will have its 5th straight week, not just home away, its 5th straight week, pretty much coast to coast, right? Auburn's not really the coast, but still was their first time going all the way east. Coast to coast, 5 straight weeks in a row. I think that's too much on college kids. I'm going to roll with Pittsburgh here, minus $1.50. I get beat. Another ACC matchup, Louisville laying 7.5 at UVA. 63% of the tickets on Louisville, 37% on the Cavs, the Wahoos. 79% of the handle on Louisville compared to just 21% of the handle on Virginia. Now, totals went over 5 of the last 6 for Louisville and 4 of their last 5 on the road. Total's gone under, head-to-head, the total has gone under 4 of the last 5 matchups between UVA and Louisville. UVA 4-1 against the spread against Louisville. So I'm going to follow that trend. 4-1 ATS head-to-head is UVA versus Louisville. We're going to take the home team here, plus 7.5. Again, talking about spots, Louisville's had a couple tough ones here. Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. When you look at, I just want to look into this because I believe I'm right, but I don't want to misspeak because I haven't finished typing up all the notes on this game. But next week, Louisville hosts Miami, right? So again, we always talk about look-aheads. This very much could be Louisville's in a dogfight with Virginia and then wins against Miami next week. So Louisville, again, they've had to deal with Georgia Tech. They've had to deal with Notre Dame. You got Virginia squeezed in there. And then next week's really the focus against Miami. So, again, situations and spots. If you're always like, oh, that's the better team, I'm going to take them and lay it. Doesn't work that way. Again, laying points on the road, you'll be sleeping on a park bench if you do that consistently. I just think it's a great spot and a great situation for Louisville or for Virginia, rather. We're going to grab the 7.5 with the Louisville Cardinals and take them. A couple other games here. Red River rivalry, Texas and Oklahoma. Texas laying 14.5. 59% of the ticket count on Texas, 41% on Oklahoma. 53% of tickets to Oklahoma's way, 47% of the 53% of the handle Oklahoma's way, 47% of the handle going Texas. Over under sets at 49. Overwhelming amount of people going with the over. 85% of bets going to the over for this Texas Oklahoma game, as to where 15% headed to the under. When you dive into this game right here, looking at Texas, let me just refresh here. Apologize, moving slow here. The internet, it's amazing. We're in 2024. You would think we would have the fastest internet in the world, and there's times where you just can't get to work when you need to. Texas 5-0 straight up its last 5 games, but more importantly, they are 4-1 ATS in their last 5. Now, Oklahoma 5-1 straight up the last 6 against Texas. Pretty incredible there when we talk about, Texas, their last 10 games overall, 9-1 straight up, 7-3 ATS. But Oklahoma has really dominated this series. They've won 7 of the last 10. Oklahoma's won 5 of the last 6. If you take away that 49-0 2 years ago, Oklahoma is dominating them. Now, look, I know Oklahoma's got quarterback questions. I know they got wide receivers down. This is still the Red River rivalry. This is still going to be a tight game. Ewers is coming back. He's spent a couple weeks on the shelf. You got to think, he's a little rusty. We're going to grab the 14.5 here with Oklahoma. Again, this is all about styles and spots. Oklahoma, first half money line, right? Because you would think Oklahoma is going to keep it close. If they're going to cover the number, I don't see it being a backdoor. Oklahoma is going to have to really dominate the first half. So I got to thinking about that, started diving in here. Thanks to our friends over at Covers. This is a cool stat I pulled out and put in our notes. Oklahoma has hit the first half money line 5 of their last 6 games. That would have been good for 5.15 units and a 15% return on your investment. I think that's a number again. Oklahoma plus 350. They're in the first half. If Oklahoma can keep this thing close, which we're going to have them plus the 14.5, I think it starts out by them being close in the first half of this game. So I'm going to take Oklahoma plus 14.5 here and give that out. Again, notes will be up later today. Penn State, they'll be laying 3.5 against USC. They're in Cali. USC got off to that hot start, and I told everybody it's fool's gold with LSU. Absolutely fool's gold, and it showed up. They had that tough loss to Michigan. And then they go to Minnesota. We had Minnesota last week, plus 8.5. They dropped that game. Right now, Penn State 3.5. Now, this one had gotten up as high as 5 earlier in the week. So right now, Penn State sitting at 3.5, getting 67% of tickets, 33% of tickets going to USC, 74% of the handle going to Penn State, 26% going to the Trojans. Your over-under sets at 51. Everybody pounding the over on that. 65% of tickets, 72% of the handle going to them. And on this, if you just pull this up here, Penn State 5-0 straight up its last 5. But here's one that's just incredible. Blew me away. Penn State 8-1 against the spread its last 9 games on the road. I mean, that's just an absolute stout number. 8-1 against the spread the last 9 on the road. I know I give James Franklin a hard time. I'm not a big James Franklin fan. Reason I'm not a big James Franklin fan is I haven't seen him win a big game, right? I'm not saying this is a big game, but this is definitely a must win. Penn State's got a really good opportunity here to make the college football playoff. They should make the college football playoff. I'm already looking at it and saying, okay, they're going to drop the game to Ohio State, right? They're not going to beat them. They've had them on the ropes so many times, and they've never been able to finish them off. So I know they're not going to win that game. But when I look at this one, I'm like, this is a got to have. This is a got to have. James Franklin, you got to have this one, right? So I don't like laying high money lines. Not something that I recommend doing. But again, I do think there are times where you can pick things out and be a little quote unquote stylistic with it. So what I did with Penn State, I didn't want to lay $1.70, $1.75 in some spots. Didn't want to do that. So I parlayed Penn State money line with Kentucky money line because I believe Kentucky's going to smash Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's still celebrating from that win last week against Alabama. No way they're going to be focused or ready for this game. So I took Kentucky and Penn State money line together, minus 115. That is a double unit play. Come on, James Franklin. Don't let me down here. Don't let me down, James. Come on, Jimmy. So Penn State there, minus on the money line with Kentucky, but the line sets at 3.5. To me, it's Penn State or nothing. I just can't get there with USC. A couple other games here before we shift over to the NFL. Memphis laying 7 against South Florida. If you could get 7.5, maybe, but the way South Florida fell apart in that Miami game, I just don't want nothing to do with them. 73% of the bets going to Memphis, 27% to South Florida. BYU, Arizona, BYU laying 3. It has been all BYU money. I want to make a case for Arizona, but after watching K-State and how they got obliterated, you guys know what those games are like at BYU. They just have a huge home field advantage up there that you can't deny. Tennessee laying 14 to Florida. Tennessee should have a good bounce back here. Florida, they're just a train wreck. Tennessee's back at home. I definitely wouldn't take the dog there. To me, it'd be Tennessee or nothing. Again, we'll have some notes up on that, breaktheboardsports.com. This is going to be a good one. Ole Miss laying 3.5 at LSU. We went ahead and grabbed LSU plus 3.5. 52% of tickets going LSU's way. 48% of tickets going. 48% of tickets going to Ole Miss, to Ole Miss. And then your handle is split 51-49 here with LSU and Ole Miss. When I dove into this game, scroll down, skip over a couple other ones here because we can't go over every single game. Again, they'll be on breaktheboardsports.com. But when I go down here, where are we at? When I go down here and we look at this game, one of the things that I found interesting again for Ole Miss, they're 8-1 straight up their last 9 games. The only game they lost was the one where I was in attendance when they played Kentucky a couple weeks ago. By the way, shout out to Ole Miss. Y'all do it right with the Grove. This is another bucket list place I want to go there. I want to go to Death Valley at night. But LSU, 5-0 against the spread and 5-0 straight up their last 5 versus Mississippi. I'm going to ride those two trends and take LSU plus the 3.5. Does it scare me? Yes, because I think Ole Miss is better. I know they got the better quarterback. I know they got the better coach. But I'm hoping LSU and that home crowd can pull them through. I would have loved to have gotten a 4.5. I'm not going to buy a point in a game this close. I'm just going to take the 3.5 minus 110. LSU plus 3.5. Here will be another play that we end up giving out. When I look at this, diving in a little bit more, your over-under is setting at 62. But head-to-head, we talked about LSU, 7 of the last 10 they've taken. Now, last year, this game was in Ole Miss. Ole Miss won 55-49. The year before, LSU blew the doors off of them, actually. But a couple other things here to dive into. LSU, they've hit the money line 8 of their last 9 games. That would have put you up 6.3 units, but only a 1% return on your investment. When you talk about that over-under 62, LSU's hit the game total over 8 of their last 12. That would have been good for 3.6 units, 27% return on your investment there if you had been backing the Tigers in that situation. So for me, again, Tigers plus 3.5 is going to be the play here on Saturday against the running Rebels. Me personally, I would love to see the Rebels win by a field goal 38-35. That'd be perfect. I get the best of both worlds. The last game we're going to touch on here, and there's a couple more. There's some good ones. Again, they'll be up breaktheboardsports.com. Please click subscribe. Is really the granddaddy of them all this Saturday anyways. Ohio State, number 1 team in the land in some people's eyes. To me, it's still Texas. Ohio State laying 3.5. Now, this one got as high as 4.5. The look at it was 1.5. Now it's back down to 3.5, and there's actually a couple threes starting to pop up. So if you want Oregon, I say just wait, because I think there's more like when the public gets a hold of it Saturday morning, this is going to trend even more Ohio State's way. 76% of the ticket count on Ohio State, 24% of the ticket count on Oregon, 80% of the handle on Ohio State's way, 20% of the handle going to Oregon. You're over under 54, 72% of tickets to the over, 28% of tickets to the under in this Oregon-Ohio State game. Listen, Oregon has been phenomenal at home, right? They've just been absolutely incredible. 33-2 their last 35 games at home. Right now, I'm going to take Oregon plus the 3.5. Now, listen, I know people say, well, Oregon hasn't looked that great. Well, who's Ohio State played, right? That would be my thing. Who's Ohio State played? They haven't impressed me either. 3 years ago, Oregon went into Ohio State and won 35-28. I just think when I look at this matchup, I just think Oregon is a better team now. I'm not going to deny Ohio State. Their run game is absolutely incredible. Best running game in the country. Offensive line is stout, but they haven't, when you're playing people like Akron and Western Michigan, and even Iowa isn't a sufficient offense, to say the least. Let me just put it that way. I think Dillon Gabriel, he's played in some big games. He's a tough kid. This is the game Oregon has had circled. Again, I know they haven't lived up to the hype and expectation everybody's put. I know Ohio State, they're the Buckeyes. Everybody loves them, but I'm telling you, I think this game's going to go down to very late in the fourth quarter. With that, I'll take a team that's almost unbeatable at home. I'm catching 3.5. Let's hope the Ducks quack all night long. So we're going to take Oregon there plus 3.5. Again, breaktheboardsports.com. Flipping over to the NFL. Again, we started the week off on the wrong foot. Thanks to the Seattle Seahawks, two teams that I just will never be able to get right. Is a game that involves Geno Smith or a game that involves Aaron Rodgers. Those two guys, it's like back in the day, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers may have cost me more money than any woman I've ever dated. Just brutal. Jacksonville plus 1.5 this Sunday over in London. They play the Chicago Bears on Sunday. Get this to refresh. Man, I'm just having all kinds of internet issues, guys. I deeply apologize between that and the computer here. Just not my friend. One of these days, I'll have somebody that can take care of all this for me. That'll be great. Anyway, Jacksonville 11-4 against the spread. Their last 15 on the road, last 15 games on the road. The total has gone under 6 of the last 9. Listen, here's the thing, and it's funny. I say this all the time. All the information that is out there, all the shows, all the podcasts, all the YouTubes like this, everything that's going on, and the public is taking a beating more than anything. 51%, when the public, 51% or more of the tickets are on one team, 28, 46, and 2 ATS. That means $100 better is down $2,000. That's the worst start through the first couple weeks in the last 20 years. Last week, 6 and 8 ATS. Just not a good look. But listen, Jacksonville here, Caleb Williams going overseas. Listen, I know Chicago put up a lot of points, but I think that's a lot of fool's gold with them playing. I think that's a lot of points. Those points don't really translate to what is the real story. They're playing the Carolina Panthers. Even their win earlier this year against a bad Tennessee team where Tennessee basically coughed that game over to the Bears. I know some of you are like, the Bears played Houston tough. Okay, I'll give you that. Jacksonville hasn't looked good, but I think getting that win last week, now the defense was susceptible, but Jacksonville plays well overseas. I'm going to take the 1.5, and I'm going to grab it with the Jaguars. Right now, 73% of the ticket count on the Bears, 80% of the handle on the Chicago Bears. I'll be contrarian. Again, that trend we just talked about where the public was getting beat to death. I put the Jaguars in my circa millions. I'm also going to have them in my Friday Football Invitational in the Average Joe contest there at VSiN, who does such a great job. Love those guys over there. I'll take the Jags. Baltimore laying 7. It's up to 7 now. I grabbed it earlier when it was 6.5, but I think if you want to find anybody else to two-team tease with the Ravens or money line parlay with the Ravens win this game right now. 28% of tickets and 35% of the handle on the Ravens compared to 72% of the tickets on the Commandos and 72% and 65% of the handle on Washington. Washington is that trendy dog everybody loves. Baltimore 14-5 straight up its last 19 games. Now, over might be something you look at here. 51.5 is a little rich for me. 68% of tickets and 78% of the handle going towards the over compared to just 32% of tickets and 22% of the handle going to the under. Don't really like that. But the over has hit 6 of Washington's last 7 games on the road, and it's hit 4 of Baltimore's last 5. Again, maybe you tease down the over. That's a possibility. But I do think the Ravens grabbed the win here. I grabbed it at 6.5. 7, I hate pushes. It's like kissing your sister. So to me, I would lay it with Baltimore. I think Washington's that trendy dog that's going to get smoked this week and is going to break a lot of people's hearts. Arizona Cardinals visiting the Green Bay Packers. Packers laying 5.5. 54% of ticket count going to Arizona, 46% to the Packers. Arizona, 40% of the handle compared to 60% to the Packers, though. So a little flipperooski. Everybody really high on the Cardinals and Kyler Murray after they got that win last week against San Francisco. Obviously, Jordan Love and the Packers able to have a little bounce back after their little Minnesota debacle where they came out and did not play well. Arizona 5-1 against the spread their last 6 games on the road. However, Green Bay is 5-1 straight up head-to-head their last 6 versus Arizona. We were just talking about the Ravens and not wanting to lay 7 compared to 6.5. Listen, Ravens-Packers 6-point teaser or Ravens-Packers moneyline parlay, whichever one pays out best for you. That's a good 2 dance. I think the Ravens and Packers get wins. Texans, this line was at 7. Then the news about Nico Collins dropped it to 6.5. Houston laying 6.5. It looks like Drake May is going to get the start at quarterback for the New England Patriots. Texans, 77% of tickets compared to 23% of the ticket count going to the New England Patriots. 62% of the handle going Houston's way compared to 38% for New England here. Houston, 4-1 against the spread their last 5 head-to-head matchups with New England. But New England, 6-1 against the spread their last 7 against Houston when it's in New England. Give me the dirty dog here by the hook. Give me New England plus 7. I think Houston's going to start. Listen, Houston has not looked all that dynamic, right? CJ Stroud, I'm still a believer, but when you take Nico Collins off the field, Stephon Diggs really hasn't did much for him now. Joe Mixon, he practiced this week. He should be back. But this isn't something I just am total in love with and just want to run and bet the number. I know a lot of people are pounding Houston, and I expect the public to hop on them even more over the weekend. And I know you say, rookie quarterback Drake May, DeMeco Ryans going to have his way with him. You're probably right. But I do think Gerard Mayo, though I don't think he's the right play for head coach, I do think he has a brain. And he's going to keep that ball on the ground with Stevenson. They're going to chew up clock. They're going to shorten this game. New England's defense, credit to Mayo, has been very stout. They've did a good job hanging in there. So I'm going to take the Patriots plus the 7 here in the dirty, ugly dog. Hold your nose. Tampa Bay against New Orleans. Spencer Rattler apparently getting the start for the Saints as Derek Carr with that strain oblique is out. This line has flipped. It was Saints minus 3.5. It has flipped to Tampa Bay minus 3.5 since the injury news. 78% of the ticket count, 85% of the handle on the Bucs. You're over under 41. I don't want to get involved with Spencer Rattler now. New Orleans is 4-1 against the spread their last 5 at home, but that's not as impressive as Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 9-3 against the spread their last 12 road games. They've been road warriors. If you want to do anything, though it's a little high, I would lay the $1.65 on Tampa on the road, but wouldn't really go any other way on that. Cleveland, this one's all the way up to 10, just blows my mind. I know Philly's coming off of a bye. Everybody's really, really down on Cleveland. 54% of tickets on the Eagles, 46% going to Cleveland. On here, Cleveland's defense, though it was stout last year, has not traveled well. Philly 5-1 straight up their last 6 when they play the Brownies. Your over-under on this is 42.5. But listen, the total has gone over in 9 of the last 13 games for Cleveland, and they went over for Philly 6 of the last 7 at home, and it's went over 11 of the last 13 for Cleveland on the road. So 42.5. I know Deshaun Watson hasn't been able to break like 150 yards yet passing in any game. I think he goes off. Why not? So we're going to take the over here, over in the Browns-Eagles game. Trends are leading us that way. Stats are leading us that way. Got a couple more things to support our case. Again, go to breaktheboardsports.com. Put in that promo code, all caps, winners24. Get everything this week free. Or you can get your first month for $10.99. You can pick which way you'd like to go on that. Pittsburgh and Vegas. Totals went under 5 of the last 6 when these two teams play. But Vegas is 4-1 against the spread. Their last 5 versus the Steelers at home. Right now, your line 3 is the Steelers. 85% of tickets and 84% of the money going to the Steelers. Line really didn't move when it went from Gardner Minshew to Aiden O'Connell. You're over under 36.5. Pittsburgh minus 160 is going to be my play here on the money line. You got to think Pittsburgh's got to be able to get this one, but I think this has push written all over it. I can see 20-17. I can see 16-13. I do think this is a close game, but in the end, I think Pittsburgh's able to get across the finish line. Anthony Richardson now instead of Joe Flacco seems the way this is going to go. Tennessee's all the way up to a 3-point favorite. Doesn't make much sense in my eyes. I know Michael Pittman's out, but Tennessee, 29% of the tickets as a 3-point favorite. It was 1.5. It just keeps growing. 71% of the tickets on the Colts. Your over-under sets at 43. There's a lot of different conflicting things here, and to be quite honest, it's a hard game to handicap. Now, spread-wise, Colts 4-1 against the number of their last 5 ATS. The Colts 9-3 straight up their last 12 games on the road against Tennessee. So head-to-head, when these teams play in Tennessee, Colts 9-3 straight up, but Tennessee 5-2 against the spread the last 7 versus Indianapolis. To me here, if you can get a 3.5 or buy the hook, lay the $1.20. To me, Colts plus 3.5 would be the play, but I'm just going to stay away. It's hard to bet a game with 2 bad teams, right? Regardless of what the numbers tell you, you get 2 bad teams. It's just always a train wreck. Chargers land 3 at the Broncos. Public on the dog here, 61% of tickets, 62% of the handle. Your over-under sets at 35.5, 58% of the money going by way of the over, 42% by way of the under. As far as the handle, 31% to the Chargers, 69% to the Broncos. Falcons, Panthers. Falcons land 6. 85% of the money, or 82% of the money going to the Falcons, 85% of the tickets going to the Falcons compared to just 15% of the tickets going the Falcons' way and 18% of the tickets going by way to the Carolina Panthers. Carolina in this one, total has gone under 8 of Carolina's last 10 at home, and head-to-head, the under is cashed 6 of the last 7. Again, that over-under is setting at 47. I'll agree with that. I think this is an under game. I know the Panthers gave up a lot last week, but Falcons on the road now here. I'm going to take the under in the Falcons-Panthers game. A couple more here as we close out. Lions laying 3 at Dallas. Everybody on the line, 72% of the tickets, 88% of the money. It's all Detroit all the time. You're over-under 53% of tickets to the over, 47% of tickets to the under on that over-under 52. Now, Dallas, 28% of the bets and 12% of the handle going their way, plus the 3. Detroit, 6-1 ATS, their last 7 on the road. They've been covering machines. But Dallas, 5-0 straight up, their last 5 at home against Detroit. I think the best thing here is to tease the Cowboys. Tease the Cowboys with the Ravens. We're going to do that. We're going to switch it, though. We're going to lay $1.35 to a 7-pointer. So 7-pointer, $1.35. We're going to get the Ravens at pick and Dallas at +10. Again, make sure you check your book. A lot of them just push out on the teaser. Some people call it a loss. But make sure you're betting with a book that lets you push out and get your money back on that one, or it just reverts down to 1, depending on where you shop for your shoes. Cincinnati laying 3.5 against the G-Men. G-Men 5-1 against the spread, their last 6 at home. Right now, line sits at 3.5. Bengals getting 75% of the tickets, 75% of the handle. So 25-25 on the comeback for the Giants. I know the Giants have looked good the past couple of weeks, but after watching Seattle yesterday, little money line parlay action here for the Bengals. You can put them with some other teams. Obviously, we talked about Green Bay being a good one. We talked about Tampa Bay being a good one. If you wanted to, you could even tease the Bengals with the over in the Browns-Eagles game. But I do like the Bengals to win this game. Not going to lay 3.5 on the road. Don't trust the Bengals that much. They've ruined me, including one of my Circus Survivors week 1. So I'm not going to hop out there with them. But I do think they get the win. Sunday night, I'm going to see if he can break my heart, or Monday night, rather. I'm going to see if he can break my heart one more time. Bills laying 2.5, 77% of the tickets, 77% of the handle. Jets fire their coach. Rodgers is a mess. Sure, I'll take the Jets. +2.5 here. Total's gone under 5 of Buffalo's last 6 on the road. It's went under the total 5 straight when these two teams match up. But I'm going to go ahead and grab it here with the Jets +2.5. I like the Jets here. Buffalo hasn't shown me anything. I still believe in the Jets, right? The defense is still playing well. They're going to change the play calling duties. So I think that offense can't get any worse. Let's be real. He doesn't throw a pick 6 and another pick late, and he doesn't underthrow Mike Williams. I know you're like, John, ifs. If he doesn't do that, the Jets beat the Vikings, right? The Jets should have beat the Broncos. Lost a ton on that Broncos Jets game, by the way. But the Jets season could be totally different. I like them here. I think they get the win. They better get the win. They better get the win here, or it's going to be a real uphill battle. And I don't think they'll be able to. I don't like them at Buffalo later in the year. So this is one they got to get. They got to get the split with Buffalo. I think the Jets do that. So Jets +2.5. I played them in the Circa Millions contest, giving them out. Quite frankly, I'm going to buy the hook and take +3. I'm going to lay $1.25. Jets +3 minus $1.25. Again, click subscribe. You can go breaktheboardsports.com. Caps Winners 24 get you the whole first week free. If we're not up units for you, you get the second week free. Or you can use that code to get $10.99 for your first month. If we're not up units in your first month, you get the second month free. So again, give us a shot. It's not just plays. But you can also email in questions. We always love those. And we have notes on every single game. The goal is to make you become a better handicapper yourself, not for you to follow all of our plays, and that's just all you do. Want to help people become a better handicapper. There's so much information, so much stuff, and yet you, the public, are still losing. Let us help you. BreakTheBoardSports.com. Happy handicapping. Have a great week. We will see you here Monday. You can always follow us on X for tweets, stats, things we throw out. But we'll see you on Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time.